their way on through. We'll find out in just a second, as here comes the game. We are loaded onto the Rift. We see a multi-man stack up towards the top line.
What is it? That is super disrespectful, and hopefully Nap sees this one coming a mile away.
Oh, the fear, though, was found, and now the dredge line, but it was sort of blocked by the wall to an extent there. Nap will have to flash, but that is more than enough an advantage off of an early invade. But look at Kassin, knowing he will have the room to go in and get the deep vision off the back of it. So a nice little adaptation coming out at the very least, but still going to be hard for Nap being down that summoner spell early.
Yeah, I'm not sure it's worth it, to be honest. But in any case, we will have that trade come through. Summoner spell for ward. Runes flash in front of us. A little bit of a standard setup from both teams. Pings out across the map. Both junglers pathing away from each other. This kind of favors the Hecarim. He doesn't really want to see Xin Zhao until much later on. Doesn't want to fight him in the early levels. That's completely fine. We'll try and impact this top lane. Instead, whereas Steel's job is clearly to break open this 2v2. They don't want to let Hybrid and Nema stabilize. They want them to suffer as quickly as possible.
Yeah, early dredge line coming through from Harp, but at the level 1, who knows what can really be made of it. We see aggressive trading in the mid lane as these bot lanes don't want to give it up. We'll continue to sling the auto attacks back and forth. Fairly even trades, but they will continue to jockey for the push down there. And one thing that I would like to note in terms of the runes, as we see Blitzkun giving the robotic assessment once again, the AI power spike graph coming through, it is the glacial augment coming through for Nemo, and you can do that on the Leona, right? You have the W to offer you resistances, but the Blitzcrank, or rather the Nautilus hook champions, they're all the same, is going to set up a kill here, perhaps with the exhaust coming through the last auto. Udapon picks it up, fully stacked lethal tempo as well, won't deliver much more, but DFM doing what DFM does. Udapon looking crazy. Yeah, that was
that's
that
huge.
was a fight.
That's Harp just finding the golden line. That's a cheetah recall in bot lane pre 3 minutes. That is absolute evisceration from DFM. Look for it here. Harp just sees the angle, sees Nemo start to path away to the top right, and it's too far. The level 2 more than enough. Udapon pick the chompers, presumably pre-communicated, and the flash for the takedown, the trade back over. So huge. That's a lane that's meant to stabilize slowly. With the Kaiser, you saw on Blitzkun's graph, that sort of peaked around 11 minutes, comes online faster than the full hyper carry traditionally. But lordy lord, is that awful here for CGA. They are well and truly in trouble now. Their jungler's pathing away, so we can't even go and help. That is just complete panic mode now for CGA to try and get back out on the map.
Yeah, not the early game you want to see. Now, it will be Kassin taking the reset around that crab, Nap crashing this way, but Evie doing a fine job cleaning up as much of that CS as possible under the turret. That's why DFM gives him the big bucks. That's something my Akali would never be able to clean up. It will be the split of crabs across both sides of the river. And now Xin Zhao is right down here where his team is already winning. Perhaps sniff out something, but Kassin looking to back up the play.
DFM completely playing to this bot side now. They've invested 2 wards down here. Harp bled a bunch of experience, so we're going to see Udapon level even faster. While Steel does recall, they were there on time. If Kassin had done everything perfectly and a little bit quicker, and maybe with that a little bit of a hover on the top side, Kassin will be spotted out now, but they were there on time to match the 3v3. If it came through, Kassin will realize that DFM very aware of what he was up to.
It's so much vision.
It is a lot. They need this bot lane now that they've invested into, that they have generated a large lead in to maintain that lead. They can't let the Kaiser go for much longer. We'll see here, CGA, they're going to try and back this play up. They're going to try and pour everything into the bot lane now.
Yeah, that Zenith Blade connected, but was dealt with in kind. The Glacial Augment now on cooldown. The Bone Plating already ran all the way through, but Kassin is going for it. They're gambling. They are going to find Udapon, but they trade Nemo. At the end of the day, that is a kill going over to Hybrid. You will take it. The 1-for-1, perhaps a bit painful, but if they continue to get this wave pushed in, is it kosher?
It's cool. It's cool. CGA, they might not get that huge explosive advantage, but they do take out Udapon. Harp will be forced now to take a bad reset to try and hold this wave. He really, really looked like they were going to lose that wave for a second, and Harp, dredge lining the wall, manages to catch it. That is not the worst wave state here. Most importantly, while all of that was going on, the observers flashed Yaharong in base. Kaido was able to force Yaharong to recall, and while the CS advantage hasn't come through, that is a good sign for this Ahri in the mid lane that they're getting where they're going. Ebby, now playing with his food, is going to be able to hold this lane up here just in the right place. So this means when Kassin finishes his current jungle clear, it's going to be objective or nothing. Ebby will be nice and happy under his tower on this Kali. And that means that CGA, they've invested into this bot side. They've been punished mildly with less of an ability to come in through the top lane. It's now going to be dragon or bust. They're going to have to fight steel. That's the thing they didn't want to do. They don't want to go the 3v3. They don't want to face the Xin Zhao this early on. They want that Hecarim to get faster and faster, stronger and stronger in the late game, or later on in the game at least. And now, with CGA not spotting out that ward right in the middle, might be a bit difficult. Kassin, he's taken that reset. He's running straight to the bot lane. This is going to be cataclysmic if CGA take the straight fight.
Yeah, will he arrive on time? Steel, so much patience, but the dredge line doesn't connect. The gank has shown itself. It could have been tragic for CGA, as you point out, but they have not fallen victim to the Xin Zhao shenanigans, and now it will be the Zenith Blade forward aggressively. Kassin is here. Jungler versus jungler with a knockback. Kaido first on the roam as well. Not going to convert on anything here as the CC coming through on Kakaito, chunking out multiple carries of CGA. Meanwhile, we see Yaharong crash that giant wave in the mid lane, trusting his bot lane, going to be able to... Oh, connects on the ultimate, takes it all the way through and finds it as well. DFM being the big winners on the back end of that play, weathering the storm with the numbers disadvantage in the bot lane, and then finding the win in the end anyway.
CGA knew they couldn't take the straight 3v3. They knew Steel is investing everything he's got into this bottom side. Those top side camps not rotated at all. Yaharong knows that Kaido's gone. He gets the wave in, and then he does not allow the free rotation back to mid. The awareness to know that Ahri vulnerable now after all that return damage. So as we see CGA coming in, they know they can't take the straight fight. DFM, there are only 3. If they get the 4 here, if that charm comes through, Steel would fall here at level 5 to 7. The return damage there really punishes Kaido. Udapon or Steel or Harp communicates this. Yaharong goes looking for it, even though he's on vision. That deep pink ward we saw Harp place at level 2 is all Yaharong needs to find Kaito out, punish the damage that was pushed onto this Ahri in that bottom lane exchange, and with that DFM extend their lead through a numbers disadvantage fight. They keep pushing forwards.
Yeah, the scuttle is the first piece of crab picked up, but there's more legs left at the buffet table as Shelly is on the menu as well. Kassin is here, has the backup of the mid support. Hybrid as well coming through the mid lane, has to address the wave first. Nemo taking a little bit of poke out from the wall, but Shelly eventually loses her patience, goes on back to her dwelling, and things continue to sit at a tense knife's edge sort of scenario. Now it's DFM starting it back up again, going to use that when becomes lightning over the wall, and now it's the dredge line into the Zenith Blade. Supports changing positions. The onslaught of shadows doesn't find much work, as it will be the support of CGA falling first. Steel oh so low, but walking on out. Can Kaito get it done? The charm goes right through a stopwatch member. Evie picking up another kill on the back end. Nap slowed up by the zap, and now another ultimate connection from Yaharong forces the flash. Now the dredge line, the rocket to find it for Udapon. The reset's not going to continue out from Yaharong, but still a very convincingly won team fight from DFM.
DFM realize the objectives of CGA's comp. They react in the moment to moment, and with that, a huge team fight victory. DFM just continue extending their lead. It looked good here for CGA for a moment. You'll see the engage come through. They walk into the river. They notice it started. They know the Meganar is there for Nap. It times out just a little too soon. See Ebby sort of mess with him in the top side. Meanwhile, Steel, the main facilitator of this engage, breaks apart CGA as they come forwards. Nemo will fall as he's separated too far from his team. Steel won't die. Hybrid used the Void Rush to try and take out that Xin Zhao within his own ultimate, but unfortunately burns his only defensive tool, and with that Ebby on this Akali, free reign, able to do so much damage to a vulnerable short-range AD carry. That is the key difference here between Aphelios, Jinx, and the rest of the pack. And then DFM are just able to play it forward. CGA's main carries out of the fight. Easy victory.
At 3.5 grand is the wallet advantage for DFM at this moment. Definitely where you need it as well. Utapon getting so accelerated, collecting so much of the gold, going to be able to hit those massive Jinx spikes sooner than you would want if you're a CGA fan. Middle cot in shambles right now as that call is ticking ever closer to completion as well. Going to be interesting to see if CGA can find any sort of a comeback angle. Interestingly enough, no Dragon Take yet at 11 minutes. So we'll see who goes after this first Hextech Drake, but that Rift Herald ready, willing, and able to be loosed from Steel's inventory to secure some priority at a critical moment. Maybe some plate gold as well. Maybe some
plate gold. Would be nice to sort of see it on the next wave in mid. You know, DFM have just reset their bottom lane, so this is Utapon on full power now. Up against Hybrid with a Tear of the Goddess. Unfortunately, the vulnerability of this Kaiser, it can stabilize the lane, but when it can't, it's still short range, so you continue to bleed after the fact. And that's really the difference here, that with that early play to break open the lane, DFM just continuing to push forwards. Kaiser not set up very well for that. CGA will be present here. They will not see this one coming. Yaharong over the wall avoids all of that vision in the river. DFM can now pretty happily play the scaling game. You know, the Hecarim really the only large scaling threat here. CGA's Hybrid will be well delayed into his power spikes. DFM, not a lot to worry about for the next few minutes. Solar Flare is completely wide. This is desperation.
Yeah, they blew the flash, but I don't know if that'll be enough. They do get the onslaught of shadows all the way forward. Can they take out Utapon in time? They can. Hybrid now having the room to pop off, gets those plasma stacks, finds Steel before the knockup can come through. That dredge line, perhaps not what you want from Harp. And CGA managed to come out on top there. The early flash blown from Utapon, and I think the cleanse wasn't quite available yet either. So a nice answer back from CGA, still showing signs of life here.
Showing signs of life, just in the nick of time. You managed to get some gold back. It'll be appreciated. We're gonna have to see one or two more of those before CJ can really contest a straight fight, or which is kind of what their composition wants to do. You want to be able to pick away those diving threats. Snap should be fine bouncing out of here. Just the Gnar so good at absorbing that pressure. With that DFM, they're doing fine. We shouldn't worry just yet. The replay will break down how this happened. Nemo goes looking for this, goes looking for the solar eclipse nice and early. Flash away from Utapon is completely fine. The re-engage is slightly questionable. We do see the ability of CGA to dive faster. You know, when you hit the Leona, its two buddies can dive very, very quickly. So you've essentially pieced together what CGA were trying to do there for them. By hitting the Leona, by getting her in the front line, the Void Rush, the Onslaught of Shadows come through. They're able to dive on a target, take out the flashless Utapon.
That they did. DFM, as we do snap back into live, was seen to use that Rift Herald to collect some turret plate gold there in the mid lane. Will be so close to cracking this tier 1, unlocking the map for themselves. The gold lead not quite where it once was, but definitely not anything to be worried about, as you do point out for DFM quite yet. They have a massively scaling Jinx, sitting quite comfortably even after giving away that death, soon to be completing the call as well. Yaharong gets it done, gets this tier 1 in the mid lane, going to pick up that first turret bonus gold. Things sitting pretty for DFM. We'll have to see as the second Herald spawns if there will be any sort of a fracas developing around that, and whether Hybrid can continue to do what is necessary on this Kai'Sa to sort of secure the late game. It's going to be hard, as you point out. It's shorter range. It doesn't have the typical late game explosion that we think of compared to the Jinx, but Hybrid really, through and through, has been one of the big win conditions for this team, and when Kassin is on that more tanky utility Hecarim, really going to have to put it on his shoulders.
It really will be. It speaks great to, never mind DFM coming in here.
Yeah, Nemo going to at least find the peeling solar flare for himself because Kassin hiding in this brush wants no part of it. They know he's here, though. This horse cannot run away, has to blow the ultimate to do so. So a nice uncontested pick, maybe more as well as Yaharong. No fear diving forward. Harp not looking as good with the dredge line, but it doesn't matter because Yaharong's so clean. The sidestep into the killer instinct, however, but the exhaust curtails any answer back. And DFM just continuing to show off and have fun down here. Yaharong popping off on the Vex. Oh, almost found another one as well on the back of it.
Almost found the extra. Really, really rough. CGA clearly had a plan there. They wanted to try and find another dive in, try and break apart the team. I see Kasinga's really deep here. But unfortunately, the numbers advantage is called. Ari spotted on the mid wave. And with that, CJ going to full retreat. Kassin on the Hecarim, he maybe should have just started channeling the recall right here. There's nothing more to be found. Don't think it would have quite mattered. Steel spots him out. Able to really, really get onto the horse. The depth charge follows no matter where you go. With that, Yaharong with a confident dive. Just clips Hybrid, just able to push him forwards. Hybrid would find the return here. That is enough with the Cathian Rain coming through, but the exhaust more than enough to reduce that damage, really make it the complete play for DFM here. I think the only way back in for CGA, we have to see that fully executed dive. They've done it twice now. That is, I think, a really, really clear indication on the scoreboard of DFM. 2 deaths for Udapon. That's unusual at this stage in the game with this much of a gold lead. So we got to look to CGA to skill check to execute their composition once more for their last sort of chance in before this Jinx gets out of range and out of hope.
Yeah, DFM going to convert on Shirley. It's funny you mentioned the 2 deaths of being a lot for Udapon. Obviously, KDA not always the most meaningful stat in and of itself, but with context, it can be really interesting. Brackish had asked us for interesting numerical tidbits in the break between games, and one of them that's pretty crazy is Udapon sitting at about a 10 KDA for the season, with a support who is almost always roaming out of the lane to go and affect other areas of the map. Just really, really dominant play all the way through from Udapon as he begins to hit this Ocean Drake, going to pick up the second one here for DFM. So that's just a clean sweep of the neutrals all the way through. The 5K gold lead as well. Really starting to build up is the feeling of impending doom for CGA.
It's not getting better here for Crest. It's it's going to be a bit rough. We do see at least the Hull Breaker now for Nap, so he's going to be able to play that side lane into the Akali quite well. Stops the magic damage being able to so easily take out large minions, and with that, hopefully some gold injection. We do see from Hybrid, most interestingly, we've gone over this Kaiser a little different to how we see most picks. No serrated Dirk, which is just a super efficient item and gets her the Acathian Rain evolved nice and quickly. So instead, Hybrid just opting into the full scale. Looks like it's going to be the Nash's Tooth next as quickly as possible. And with that, it's going to be sort of a wait for the spike rather than I'm good right now. So I'm looking maybe to see CGA wait a few more minutes, try and bleed a little less, and come together over Baron rather than anything earlier. We've seen Kaido relegated to a side lane now, not able to roam away in mid. Yaharong's effective performance on the Vex, making that an impossibility. So with that all said and done, it's now on CGA to find that coming together moment to pick their time to fight.
It is DFM who has 4 members up here, going to secure this Shirley charge, unlock the last of the tier 1s for themselves, have that line of scrimmage pushed so much forward as a result. Might even secure a second charge here. The Void Seeker does connect on Shirley, but you gotta get that eye. That's the important part, and Hybrid will collect that extra 25 gold. Won't let the tier 2 fall under threat, but still a successful series of play for DFM. And now Baron is the next objective to hit the map in just 40 seconds here. Going to be such an easy take with an accelerated Jinx, going to do so much DPS. Any picks coming through could spell that purple worm being collected by DFM. CJ are going to have to play so carefully.
It's going to be difficult. It's going to be difficult. Stopwatch has been used by Harp, but that playmaking ability, the focus here for DFM, that's what they've chosen to go towards. They need these moments to go for them. They need the flank from Ebby to catch out Hybrid, to catch out Kaido, and then to make CGA's composition impossible to play. That's the name of the game. Instead of playing their own, they've got to ruin CGA's day. CGA have to execute perfectly. You'll see the slow bleed out here, all foretold by that first play in the bottom lane. Really, really difficult here for CGA.
It reminds me, Temporal, of an I'm a Cutie Pie quote, which is, the best way to win in League of Legends isn't to play the champions that are fun. It's to play the champions that make sure your opponents don't get to have fun. And that is certainly the strategy coming through from DFM here.
To a degree, I don't really trust Cutie Pie when it comes to anything but right-clicking really fast. Nor should you really.
I just think it's a cute way of
of
playing with a winner's mindset. Although Cutie Pie not having done a lot of winning.
It's a sour AD carry's perception of what goes on around him for sure. But in an essence, it is DFM trying to play spoiler here. They've got the big tools to do it. It is kind of the way Vex likes to play the game. If you just look at her in a vacuum, you know, your opponent wants to do things, dash around, and you'll be rewarded with more damage for them trying to be proactive. Instead, the way we've got to see it this game is DFM have to manage the best of both worlds. As we'll see Steel will spot the ward in the wall. Then we're pulling out all the tricks here. It's just so difficult for CGA to approach this. They're going to have to keep checking. The Baron is, you mentioned sort of the name of the game. You know, neither team has a super empowered take, but Hybrid now has his Nash's Tooth. He's only a few stacks away from finishing this Mana Mune. We're going to see the first big fight where this Kaiser isn't just a dive threat, but also a full AD carry, consistent damage throughout. And with that, it might be CGA's time to shine around this Baron.
Yeah, it was CGA pulling out all the tricks there, trying to camouflage that ward against the red banner in the back of the pit. I appreciate the gamesmanship. Now 25 seconds about on the mountain. Drake could create a bit of a split map situation as Kaido being found by Evie. And that was a nice little dance back. The Everfrost not going to create any meaningful CC there with the Shuriken flip trickery. And it is DFM just pushing forward, clearing out lots of vision around this bottom side jungle of CGA, going to have all the control they need to keep eyes on both objectives. Critically, it is 2.5, almost 3 items on both of the big carries for DFM. As much as we focus on that power spike for Hybrid, it's going to be an uphill battle to output more damage than that Vex and Jinx. Such a scary combination.
It's going to be a lot. DFM are coming in deep. Baron was the focus. I don't know why Nap's up here on his own. Kassin will be nearby, but
has the Gnar bar all the way up, finds the ultimate, but is forced to E-flash. And Evie continuing to chase will get stunned up. Hybrid, though, coming in off the back of it, using that CC to proc the ultimate, so at least answers one back. Zooming in from nowhere was Hybrid there to collect the prize. That is top laner for top laner. But look at DFM. They still have their big carries on the map.
It's still there. Like, Kaido completely isolated in the bottom lane, chose to just stick there. When you're going to assign your weak side top laner with your hull breaker near an objective, you need to come together over a specific time. You need to know where to interact with your opponent. Instead, CJ just sort of sleepwalking forwards. It maybe looked like they were going to pivot down to the dragon, instead try and get that objective bounty. But instead, DFM just left in the driver's seat now. Top for top is fine, but the 4-man unit here from DFM is still able to play spoiler. It's just CJ not quite coming together, getting caught off guard by a DFM play. DetonatioN FocusMe will go to Soul Point because of it.
Yeah, that Mountain Soul going to provide good amount of value for everybody on this team. The Akali likes to sort of dash in and out and play tricky around the fights more so than straight up tank, since that chem tank degeneracy that we saw has been more or less nerfed away from the Akali builds, but definitely going to find some safety in the shielding and the bonus resistances. Shield going to be feeling good against those Void Seeker pokeouts from Hybrid as well. With that Nashor's Tooth, those W's going to at least find some poke damage, mitigate a little bit if they can collect on that Mountain Soul that they have set up for themselves. But in the meanwhile, it's one objective left on the map, so all eyes around the Nashor. Trinity Force going to be picked up pretty late for Nap here. Of course, rushing that Hull Breaker delays what is already in and of itself a pretty expensive mythic, but maybe that can be a little bit of oomph they need to find that dive forward, to find that CC lockup, and maybe take out some key targets. But DFM continuing to just play up and play confident.
Confident. The Void Seeker here we'll see from Hybrid, so good when you can't find any vision. Part of Kaiser's recent resurgence, just being able to check your own quadrant so easily on a very low and very inexpensive cooldown. Very beneficial here for CJ. Even though they're on vision, they know they're not going to get death brush, they're not going to get checked out. They're able to at least have a holding pattern around the Baron.
Does look like it's going to be the AP Kaisa as well coming through. That's Luden's components sitting in her inventory, so a lot of focus on those Void Seekers.
I suppose if you're not going to take the straight fight, and at this stage CGA would struggle to do so, just a little bit more damage beforehand. So now the onus on DFM to engage swiftly if they can find CGA. Checking so carefully forwards into their own quadrant. They want this Baron to not go down. Their ability to clear Baron waves quite limited at this stage. You mentioned the Triforce here for Nap as well. It just does more damage than the Sundera. You know, it maybe offers slightly less sustain, but the move speed and AD on each stack, just so good for something like the Gnar. These continued fights, just lots of AD, lots of damage, and without a huge tank on the other side for DFM, just makes a lot more sense.
Yeah, we see Hybrid does reach that 3-item precipice, has caught up to Yutapon to an extent, but Yutapon has the stopwatch ready to go. Could be such a big factor in turning one of these fights. Voidseeker is going to really start to hurt, though, with that bonus spell penetration off the mythic passive from the Luden's Echo. It feels like it's so difficult here, Temporal, for CJ to find an angle of approach, as that's the depth charge coming out into the zap, but not going to find anything as Kassin trades his ult for the support's ult to get on out of dodge. Another dredge line not going to connect as Nemo walks right into the midst of multiple members. Yaharon going forward, finds the Everfrost across multiple people as well. Now will be counter locked up, but that's a quick 2 kills, as I'm not entirely sure what the thought process was there from Nemo.
A little bit of decision paralysis, perhaps. We did mention it was on DFM to take the straight fight, and the straight fight they do take. No one poked out yet by Hybrid, no one picked off by Kaido. And with that, CJ's frontline do fall. DFM will be able to convert into the Baron now. CJ going to try and stop this.
Yeah, Kaito now in the midst of those trap jaws, just going to be picked out as well. So that's the Baron Nashor going through. So much tension, all of this setup. I mean, Hybrid just trying to chip away at a distance for so long, trying to find some vision off the back of those W's. And in the end, it's just a whimper from CGA. I'll throw it over to you to break this down for me.
So the dredge line doesn't come forwards with Nemo. Nemo just fishing. Not sure what he's fishing for, and his fishing rod gets pulled all the way in. And just with the reset there, Yutapon able to do so much. It's really sad for CJ. They really didn't need that fight. Before the end, that'll be 2 swift kills, the Baron buff over to DFM. You don't have to do a lot right now, but play it standard, play the lanes forwards, keep Yutapon alive and happy, keep denying Kaido these engages. Ebby was looking for the flank even. They knew they were fishing for a fight in mid and just didn't even have to do anything. We didn't have to find Hybrid. Just was able to push the fight forward so well. And with the Mountain Dragon coming up now, you can't help but think this is going to be Soul.
Kassin!
He's in deep. He knows that this is going to have to be a bit of a hero one-way ticket into the back of this Mountain Dragon. Can't see it just yet.
Oh my goodness, the cone right over the wall, just a bit too early. Didn't have the vision to make a better judgment call and went to go. The bones, the steal, and the objective bounty. Can it be enough as Hybrid taking the ultimate back? But Evie just bursts him as if he was made of tissue paper. Nap getting the multi-man ultimate, but it's not going to really mean anything as Yutapon is continuing to rampage. It's the triple kill. It's the ace. The Mountain Drake not really worth that trade-off, as DFM can just completely crack open the base now. Do they have time to go for the end here, Temp?
It's looking pretty likely. Unfortunately, they get the dragon. You know, huge play from Kassin, able to duck, dive, dip, dodge, and dodge out of the way of danger. But his team decides to join in. They're looking for the full reversal. They didn't just want the dragon; they wanted to win the game. It was possible, but the approach very difficult. DFM could just turn around, use all their cooldowns on the heroes, and with that coming through, it will be the end. Sort of a disappointing end from a CJ side that looked like they might have a glimmer of hope there.
Yeah, there was just no wave clear or stall capability available for CJ in the end, and DFM just needed that one fight to bring it on home.